touching on the top prop bets in the NBA today. All right, so looking at the board for today, NBA-wise, have a couple good ones as it sits right now. Hoping that we get fantasy score while I'm doing this video, but we do have some really fun ones for college basketball. So I'll be touching on those in this one, and I do plan on doing some sort of March Madness one as well. I'll probably be out this afternoon. It'll just be something fun. But this is going to be focusing on the NIT games. And then we do have two NHL props that are okay. And actually, shout out to the NHL props for coming through clutch yesterday, minus Jack Hughes. I know everyone seemed to be on him. Other than that, pretty good. And I guess the taco didn't hit as well. But other than that, the NHL bets were pretty solid. Pretty good day as a whole yesterday. Yeah, yesterday started out with the Charlotte-Cleveland game being a bust. And then from there, just, I don't want to say basically all, but almost all of them cash then from that point on, which is pretty nice. So yeah, yesterday it should have been pretty easy to get 6 bets won with a profit. And I got some screenshots already of people having some really good success. So that was pretty cool to see. I'm curious, did anyone, I know on the live stream I kind of said this a lot, did anyone stack that OKC Brooklyn game? Because on paper I thought that was going to be like the best, I shouldn't say the best game, a very appealing game. And so I'm curious if anyone stacked that one. So right now, Ashton Matthews under 4.5 shots on goal is probably going to be taken away as the day progresses. It seems like it. And I kind of always like to use Underdog as kind of a default for stuff like this as well. They already bumped it down to 4 shots on goal. And so if we look at DraftKings Sportsbook, we can see they have it set at minus 140. That's going to be true, hopefully throughout the day. But I do want to call out that, I do look at the average sportsbook odds, and this one seems kind of fishy. The other sportsbooks that I'm pulling in have this set at basically a push, minus 125 for the under. Now, they are still favoring the under, but I just want to call that out. And now this prop is going to be the exact opposite. Now, people are not going to like this because 4 out of the past 5 games, he's been over. But we're looking at Dylan Cousins under 2.5 shots on goal. The average sportsbook odds have this set about minus 150 for the under. Now, if we go to DraftKings Sportsbook, we can see they have set at minus 135. So a little bit tighter, but still, 2 pretty good NHL props that we are getting. And guys, for what it's worth, like yesterday on the live stream, the NHL prop board the odds were updating right before lineup lock or an hour before lineup lock. And we were getting some really strong favorable bets NHL wise. And it seems like either early on in the morning, we're getting really good lines and they adjust like pretty early. And then later on in the evening, there are also some really favorable bets. So just if you're making some NHL bets, kind of just based off of the lines, make sure to be there either in the morning or in the evening. So now we're going to get into some college basketball bets. And these are going to be for the NIT tournament, but they are all kind of interesting, kind of fun ones as well. Let's start with Will Richard. So the over here is set at minus 139 for over 11.5 points. And we can see he's kind of been a little bit hit or miss in the points department. But that's just a favorable bet that we are getting. Let's see if that game's a high-scoring game. Not terrible, but not exactly, yeah, we need to go out and hammer that bet. We'll want to call that one out. And now we got Nelson here. We are looking at minus 143 for under 14.5 points. Now, I do want to call out that the over odds are set at even. So typically speaking, when we're getting a bet that's like minus 143, that would mean that it has about a 58% chance for it to hit. So actually, when we take out the juice for this, it's only about a 53% chance for it to hit. Still favorable odds. Like, we will take those. That's what we're doing here. We're trying to find the best favorable odds. So still not a bad bet, but just want to call that out. So this line for Alex is extremely interesting, and I think it's worth calling out. The line opened at 10.5. It has thus been bumped up to 11.5, but they're heavily favoring the under at 11.5. So that was something I thought would be worthwhile just calling out. Did get a bump. PrizePicks hasn't bumped it. But like I said, they are favoring the under now instead of the over. And now this one is also extremely interesting. We got Lucas over 15.5 points as seemingly the way to go. And I phrase it that way because if we look across the sports books, I'm seeing lines that suggest it should be set at 16. Now, yes, at 16.5, they are saying, yeah, probably should be under. But I'm also seeing some sports books have this line set at 17. Okay. So it just seems like a fishy line that we have here. But given the fact that we're getting 15.5 points on DraftKings, on PrizePicks, that seems very favorable for me. today. And also, this is available on Underdog as well. So if you guys maybe want to use that on Underdog, you could do that as well. And then just another one that is just interesting line-wise. So we can see hasn't been able to get the over in, quite a few games. But DraftKings Sportsbook has the over set at -135. If we look at Caesars Sportsbook, that's also pulling in a number for this. -146 to get over 12.5 points. So if you guys are looking at this and you're saying, no, I don't want to bet the over, well, you could then bet the under with favorable odds on, DraftKings Sportsbook or something like that. All right, so getting into the NBA bets for the day, looking at it, we do have a pretty big board as I'm recording this. At the same time, we have a ton of injury news that we were also waiting on, okay? Cleveland has the back end of their back-to-back. Mitchell is a game-time decision. He's expected to play. Jared Allen is also a game-time decision. He is truly questionable. Obviously, we know that can change a lot of that game. Memphis is still going to be without Ja Morant and Steven Adams. The Lakers ruled out Anthony Davis, so they're going to be without Anthony Davis and LeBron. So we're going to try to figure out what that means. And if we just look at some stats first with AD, Westbrook, and LeBron off the court, it would be Dennis that we'd be looking at, and maybe Hachimura and Thomas Bryant. To get probably an accurate sample size, we'll probably have to just look at with AD and LeBron James off the court, which sucks because then we're pulling in, Russell Westbrook into that sample size. But to me, it probably would be looking at D'Angelo Russell, who has been playing extremely well. He's been getting the shot attempts up. 15, 19, and 17 the last two games. And although he doesn't have a lot of minutes with those two off the court, literally 17 minutes this season. And so it's not even worth really mentioning, but we can assume that he's going to have a high usage rate. We can assume he's going to shoot the ball a ton. And then the projected starting lineup right now is actually Jared Vanderbilt. So they might be forced into giving him minutes. And if he's going to be someone that's getting 30 minutes, would be highly appealing. And same thing goes for Hachimura. If we knew for sure that these two were going to get around 30 minutes, would be interesting plays. So I'm very curious, and that's obviously why we don't have the props out, but I'm very curious as to see where their prop numbers are going to end up on. And then continuing on, Minnesota's still pretty banged up. Luka's still out. Kyrie's a game time decision, and I don't know. I'm very curious if I want Kyrie to sit or not, because Josh Green and Hardy have been two players that, well, I haven't really been able to highlight on the videos because the news comes out so late right before lineup lock, but they've been two players I've been targeting when that news has come out. And I think I did mention that 2 videos ago. But at some point, they are backups, but they are playing San Antonio. But at some point, it's just not going to hit. And then looking at the Spurs, this is extremely interesting as well. They are so banged up, and we got to see who's going to be active in this game. Coming in off the back end of a back-to-back, we did see Charles Bassey get injured. And TFS-wise, Sandro is going to be interesting as a whole. If he gets 20 minutes, should not be min price, almost min price. Very interesting there. If you guys want DraftKings and FanDuel coverage, head on over to the Occupy Fantasy YouTube. Me and Chuck Silver are going to be going live at around 3:15. Chuck's won 3 or 5 mini maxes this year, so definitely good information there. But Keldon Johnson sat last night, so I think he's going to play. And same thing with Trey Jones. I expect these players to play now, but I still think someone like Zach Collins is going to be a good bet. Just been a stud. So those are all ones that we're waiting on, and then nothing too crazy from there. But there's a lot of injury news. And Sengun as well. This is worth mentioning. And guys, ideally, I would love to come out with this video later once we have all this information, but I feel like just given the status of a lot of this injury news, I would have been waiting the whole day, and I don't want to be waiting the whole day to get news that we may or may not get throughout the day. So we did see last game with Sengun off the court, Jabari Smith Jr. really had himself a great game. Played in 36 minutes, and he's been playing a lot and really been going off lately as well. So I think he'd be someone we can look at. We look at his per 36 numbers with Sengun off the court. Does get about 34 fantasy points per 36. So looking at rebounds and assists, or rebounds and points, it's about 17.6 points and about 8.8 rebounds per 36 with Sengun off the court, about 1.4 assists. So he could be someone that we're looking at prop-wise as well when that finally comes out. But I think we're going to be waiting on Houston's props until we get that Sengun news. So where does that leave us with the props that we are getting today? That's the biggest question. So I want to call it this prop for Kyle Anderson. We look at points, rebounds, and assists. The average sportsbook line is kind of giving it a bump to about 23.2, where PrizePicks has it set at 22.5. And they are kind of favoring it as a push at around 23.2. Now, the thing with it is Kyle Anderson has been going off lately. The issue is the lack of consistency really with him. And this is where I kind of mentioned on yesterday's live stream, I kind of wish we could tease bets on PrizePicks. Like if I could bump this number up to 26 or something to get a better payout with it, I probably would do that because we can see he is very much hit or miss. And so as long as the minutes continue to be there like they have been, I think he has a great chance to get there. Now we look at this game against Philly. That game was a blowout. He only played 28 minutes and didn't get there. Look at the game against the Lakers, had a terrible game, just didn't do much and didn't get there. But for the most part, he has been able to really have some solid games. He's just someone that kind of does everything, you know, gets rebounds, gets assists, kind of works his way into the paint to get some high percentage shots. And it's kind of encouraging that he was able to get there against Atlanta and Brooklyn as well. Just not like lock and loads or not a lock and load bet. So looking at Tyler Herro, it does seem like we are getting some favorable props on Tyler Herro as well, just really across the board, especially in this matchup against Memphis. And I would say especially if Kyle Lowry is indeed ruled out as well. I'm not saying that's going to help him immensely, but it's not going to hurt him if Kyle Lowry's out. So we go ahead and look at Tyler Herro. We can see that they are struggling. PrizePicks and the sportsbooks are struggling to get a consensus on where he should be. And so really it's just about finding which bet is going to be the most favorable. And so on paper, maybe it's this one, points, rebounds, and assists, especially going against Memphis. We know that this is going to be a good game. Let's see the pace of this game. 220 for Miami is pretty high, and it's not projected to be a blowout. And so we are seeing that there is just an edge here with Tyler Herro across the board. Now, maybe you want to roll with this one as well. Points and rebounds. This is set at 25 on the average sportsbook, but I want to call out that Underdog also has it set at 25. Typically speaking, you know, it's not a bad idea to chase lines like that, kind of compare both sites. So we can see on PrizePicks, we are actually getting a favorable number, and he is projected to get over that as well, given the matchup. So we scroll down here, we can see 35 minutes. Basically, all the metrics suggest that he should be over this. It's really not a terrible prop. And so if we look at it, just kind of want to see how he's been shooting lately. Not terrible. I mean, the shot attempts have definitely been there. It needs to do a little bit better from the 3-ball range, really, in his last 2 games. And if he does that, he should be able to easily get over. Gets a little bit better defense of matchup today as well. So yeah, probably doing over points and rebounds there just because it seems to be the bet that we were getting the biggest edge on. And even at 25 for the prop bet, they are favoring that one still over. And that's probably why Underdog gave it the bump. So I did want to pull up another kind of interesting one, and this is not really a bet for PrizePicks. It could be, I guess, but looking at points and rebounds for De'Aaron Fox. Apologies. We're looking at rebounds and assists. So really across the board, it does seem like there's a lack of continuity once again with De'Aaron Fox here. Now, the issue that I'm having is that we are kind of seeing the unders be the move. And looking at the sports books, they are kind of favoring these as pushes already. And this is where maybe we can make these prop bets maybe on a site like DraftKings where we're betting the under. We can see the line for PrizePicks is set at 31.5. He is projected to get right around that. Okay, so that could be a situation in which we are maybe just betting the unders on something like DraftKings Sportsbook. At the same time, I did want to point this out because if you guys feel like the projections are wrong, that's perfectly fine. You could then bet the over on PrizePicks. And for what it's worth, just looking at Underdog, they have points and assists at 32. So there's a slight edge there. And maybe that's where you could bet lower there if you wanted to. So something I thought that was worthwhile to call out. And sure, if we just look at it, like recently it has been a little bit hit or miss. I would say the matchup with Chicago, not one that really moves the needle either way. And then we're looking at Tatum, really for over. Well, it really depends on which one we're looking at here, because we can see they are kind of seemingly wrong. PrizePicks is with their props right now. We are getting big edges here. And so we can see it's set at about a push for points and assists for over that. And he is projected to get over that. So we're getting a pretty good edge there just with points and assists. So let's scroll down just so you guys can see it. All the metrics would suggest they should be able to get over 33.5. Scroll down, we got another one, points and rebounds, if you guys want to run that one out as well. A little bit tighter in terms of edge, but we can see still a pretty good one. And then we also have points, rebounds, and assists. We can see once again the edge is a little bit slighter, but looking at the average sportsbook line, we're getting about 45.2, and they are favoring that as a push. So probably should be around 44, but we can see we are getting still an edge there. And for what it's worth, like comparing these to Underdog, we can see they have it set at 44.5. We have points and assists set at 44, points and rebounds set at 39.5. So like really all those on paper, we are getting a nice little bump. And so it's for you guys to really figure out which one you want to go with the most. I don't really have a feel for which one it should be. I feel like they're all strong. They all kind of correlate for him as well. And maybe the best move would just be to do points. Honestly, average sportsbook line has it set at a push. They are favoring the under there a little bit, but this is at 30.2. PrizePicks has it set at 28.5, and Underdog has it set at 29.5. So it does seem to be like a line that we should be jumping on. We can see on the season averages 30.3. So looking at the game the games really in general. Let's see if there's any ones that we want to stay away from. No, nothing too crazy. Okay, here we go. 5 points, nothing too crazy. Like, we don't really have to worry about a blowout as it sits right now. Decently high scoring game as well. So I'd be fine with that. So college basketball wise, just going into like the bets of the day. Yes, we actually have some really strong bets today. I don't know much about college basketball. Like I just don't, but I'd be fine betting the over 15.5 points. Once again, the average line has this at 16.5. We saw some lines favoring the under heavily, but at 17.5. So a pretty good line that we are getting there. Now, Ashton Matthews, this is going to be one that most likely will change. I don't know. I don't like betting against these guys that are heavy shots on goal players. Like if we scroll over to the left, we got Nathan here as well. Like I don't like doing that, but I do think this is going to be one that does go away. We already saw Underdog bump this down to 4 shots on goal. So one of the more favorable ones that we're getting, minus 140 on DraftKings Sportsbook. But at the same time, the average sportsbook odds elsewhere are suggesting that it should only be minus 125 for the under. So wait and see approach there for me. I could see doing this for the under as well. Just once again, the average line has it set about minus 150 for the under. DraftKings Sportsbook has it set at minus 135. Not terrible. But looking at it, like, we are seeing that Tyler Herro, we were getting a lot of favorable props. It's for you guys to decide which one you think is kind of the best one to you. It seems to be that doing points and rebounds would probably be the best way to go. And just once again, if we compare that to Underdog, they have it set at about 0.5 higher, which is what the sports books are favoring as well. And then lastly, we got the Jayson Tatum over points prop, which really on the board was probably the best one that we're getting. These are ones in which, I don't really like betting Tyler Herro. But we can see just based off of the lines that are out there, these are kind of the correct ones. This is what we did yesterday to have some success with Banchero, Cam Johnson, just going through that process. So on paper, like if I had to choose 2, it would be these 2 right now on PrizePicks. And if you guys disagree with these, that's fine. Like if you guys think the under's the move, you could also then just bet the unders on Underdog. If you guys do that, there's a link in the description below. It's a promo code for me. Helps me. You guys get 100% match on a deposit of $200. So kind of helps out both parties, but thanks for watching, guys. Let's have a good slate. Felt good to have a good Taco Tuesday. That was fun. But let's have a good slate. Be on the lookout for the March Madness college basketball props video. I think that'll be fun. And as always, let's keep cashing.